Snow falls from the sky and is swept almost horizontally by strong winds that cause all but the tightest fastened cloaks to whip about violently as Hida Ishi makes the journey home amid one of the worst winters in recent Rokugani history. The Crab Clan military is one of the largest in the Empire. Of course it has to be, as the Crab find themselves in an almost perpetual state of war. Almost a third of the clan's samurai must man the Kayukabe, the great wall which separates the lands of the Emerald Empire from the blighted Shadowlands. While their brothers and sisters defend Rokugan from the creatures of he who must not be named, another third of the children of Hida rest. In the case of Hida Ishi, that rest is also recuperation. We see a much younger Hida Ishi wrapped in a cloak to protect from the biting wind. His horse moves slowly through the nearly knee-high snow. Behind him, a servant leads a mule laden with supplies. Under normal circumstances, a trip home from the wall would only take a few days. The unexpectedly heavy winter has turned this into a week-long journey. And that is to say nothing of the injury that prompted the journey home to begin with. A particularly strong gust of wind blows part of Ishi's cloak to the side, and we can see that his right leg is in a heavy splint. It was a serious injury sustained on the wall, though it paled in comparison to the mortal injuries suffered by the rest of Ishi's unit. For them there would be no recuperation, only rest, eternal rest. The village that Ishi called home was idyllic. Nestled in a lush valley surrounded by rice fields, Ishi's family home, while small, sat on some of the more prized land in Crab territory. His home, a modest country estate, was traditional but comfortable, and it afforded his children a fine place to grow up. It was close enough to the wall to allow Ishi to have an easy journey when called to serve there, but was far enough away that the sound of battle, the screams of men and things that perhaps were once men, the death and the bloodshed, wouldn't haunt the dreams of his wife, Ryoko, or their 2 young children. Which is why, though the wind is strong and makes speaking to your servant difficult through the loud squalls, it is so jarring to hear those very sounds coming from the direction of your home. Sounds of trouble, sounds of violence. All right, and I think on camera we see, like, if this is a cartoon, it's much easier. Yeah, it's heavy snow, but if this is a cartoon, it's much easier than if this is a live action show. We see you however much younger.
Yeah, so early 30s.
So your servant kind of, if you stop when you hear this, your servant, I feel like, who's leading this mule, stops behind you. And again, there's like these loud roaring winds that kind of whip through this.
If I heard sounds of combat from like towards my home, or next to my home, I would not be stopping.
Okay. So
I would be trying to hurt their legs.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you still move the horse along.
I can move the horse, but yeah.
Yeah, you kind of
what I would be doing.
Push the horse on further, and again, the knee-high snow is it's not knee-high to a horse, but which is a tallish animal.
But it was a supply-laden mule.
No,
that's what the servant is like bringing that along with him.
Riding a mule? God.
I don't know about crab
you definitely can't kind of gallop that way, but you can move faster than you had been moving before. And soon the servant is left behind in this heavy wind and snow where we can't see him, and so we keep seeing shots of the horse trying to move. We see shots of a barely visible estate, something that you're moving towards. We see maybe shots of your face as you can hear not so much the sound of battles, just as the sounds of like screaming.
Horrible. Great.
And soon we arrive at your house, and I feel your house is just a one-story estate. It's pretty small, like I said. It's fairly traditional. The front door is just wide open, and snow is kind of beginning to whip into
in my mind, this place it's a little tiny house, and it has like land behind it, but it also has like this little like garden area in front that, of course, is just completely snowed over, and a little wall around it. In my mind, the gate is thrown off the side of the wall, and the wall is just like crumpled on one side, like the stone wall has been like pushed over and fallen.
Okay.
And then also the door is just banging on the side of the wall in the wind. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So we see that door, the door to the inside of the house, kind of flapping around in some kind of way, to suggest that it was just thrown open and just left open, and perhaps maybe it even is flapping in such a way that it's like fully opening and fully closing, so the noise is very loud. So it's this kind of this regular banging whenever like enough of a gust of wind kicks up. And I assume you dismount the horse.
Yeah,
we can just say dismount, I guess, and head into your house.
Yeah, I suppose limping the whole time.
Okay. So the inside of the house, like I said, you can feel the wind kicks up. You kind of unsheath your sword as you go in, kind of survey what's around you. And the inside of the house is kind of the traditional area where first you go in, where it would be like a meeting area. But you can tell very easily, not only is there no one here, but after you've gotten in, the house has become eerily silent. And all you can hear is that whipping wind and then the periodic slam of that door.
It scares you every time.
Yeah, you get spooked consistently.
Alright, well, I'm just like in this meeting room, so I guess I'm gonna like go further in the house and look for any signs of anybody.
If you want to go ahead and do a read a situation, that could work.
Yeah. 7 or 9, it doesn't change.
Okay, cool. Alright, so you get one of those questions.
It's always like the same question. What should I be on the lookout for?
What should you be on the lookout for? You already know that there's danger here. Like that didn't require you to do this at all. You heard like the screaming. The thing that you should be on the lookout for is like almost the safety of your family. It's being held in a very, very precarious state at the moment.
Okay, yeah. Let me ask like the question slightly differently.
But you can also see...
Okay.
Yeah, so you should be on the lookout for the safety of your family as it's being held in a very precarious state. But you also know that thinking of them, if you were to go farther into this house, past like the meeting room and kind of the little room where you would bring guests into the more intimate part of the home where just really the family goes, that's where you need to go for certain to deal with this issue.
Okay, that was my plan. Okay, sure. So yeah, I'm gonna like go room by room. I would guess starting with the children's room.
Okay.
They have one room.
So
you have 2 kids?
All right, you move towards this room and you can see some kind of family heirloom, whether it's a piece of artwork or something that's like something that would mean something to you and to your family. What could we maybe see as some kind of family heirloom or something that would mean something to the family?
I think it is. What's that one
that you would be like very intimately like you would know it well?
It's that like weird long guitar,
the shamisen or the biwa.
Yeah, that weird super like it's like the guitar that's like extra long and a little bit rounded.
Maybe either you or your wife plays this.
Yeah, I'll go with Ishi plays it. He learned his grandfather taught his father, and his father taught Ishi, but Ishi isn't like super into it.
Okay.
He just kind of learned it to please his father.
All right. And so I think it's in this place that it usually isn't moved in any capacity. And just like to kind of further accentuate the violation of the home, like this thing it's not destroyed, but it's been placed in a different spot. Like very clearly it has been moved. It hasn't been destroyed. And as you go through the house, nothing in the house is wrecked, but various things have been moved in this strange way, where you could feel that something has come through, or someone has come through, and essentially touched and moved and manipulated in some way these items that are very, like, intimately connected to you and your home and your family.
Okay. So, all my shit is all over the place.
And I think that you can...
Is it still orderly, or...?
It's not like it's not a mess.
It's been taught. Okay, so it's not.
No, it's not a mess. Things haven't been knocked over particularly, but things have been moved. And as you head back to like your children's the room where your children stay, you kind of peek in there for a second and see no one, but the same situation. Many things have been moved around. I'll say that there are no sheets. That's not really how traditional Japanese beds work. The little area where they'd have like their like blankets and that kind of stuff, especially because it's the winter, those are gone.
Okay.
And
probably maybe, if I lift them.
You move into another nearby room that is essentially your bedroom, like the larger bedroom. And the same thing. You can see that items have been moved about in this room. Things that are on the wall have been taken down from the wall and placed on the floor. Items that were perhaps on a shelf have been moved from one shelf to another. And it's not destroyed, but there's certainly this kind of... It almost feels like it has been destroyed in that, like, the kind of sanctity of it feels like it's been violated. So, amid this scene, in the middle of your bedroom, the creature stands hunched over some grim work. It appears to be a tall man clothed in rags.
Do you know what hell is, Ishi?
It asks.
I know. I crawled out of it. And let me tell you that whatever mere glimpse you have seen on your pathetic wall, it is only a shadow of the true and terrible reality of Jigoku.
It turns to you, and its face is concealed in a large hood of filthy and darkened cloth. It at first appears that it completely lacks any sort of face, instead having just an empty space atop its body. There is but one feature that stands out amid what would otherwise be a dark void, the creature's large, almost smiling mouth.
I made it past your battlements. I looked your friends up out as they stood there impotently. Do you think it was by chance that you landed on the north side of the wall?
The creature seems to stand up straight, its height growing and growing as it seems to tower far beyond what the ceiling of your home would allow. Its arms, draped in the same filthy rags as the rest of it, slowly extend as darkened hands emerge. They appear to be burned flesh, pocked with scars and tufts of hair.
I am intimately familiar with hell, Hideyoshi, and I am intimately familiar with you. I will not return to Jigoku, Hideyoshi. You will make sure of that. You will give me what I want, and I will go away.
And the massive creature points a long clawed finger toward you, and it bellows like the freezing wind outside.
Your name, Ishi. Give me your name so I can remain in this world. Give me your name and you can be stronger than you ever imagined.
As the creature says this, its finger draws closer and closer, turning over and beckoning you to it the way someone calls a pet.
Mortal failings will be a thing of your past. You won't know the enfeeblement of age or disease. In fact, you'll get stronger and stronger. What say you, Ishi?
I think Ishi would say no. I think he would refuse. And then, say, what if this name since we do? Be like, oh, you're wild fames, demon. But, pretty much, I see that your evil holds no boundaries. If I won't help you, then you'll surely kill me, so we might as well get this over with. And then I would, point my sword at it to try to go at it.
Okay.
Except nothing and fearful and sad.
Ooh, all right. I don't know if I want to have you make a roll just yet. I think the creature, you maybe draw your sword and you point it at it, and it doesn't attack you. And instead it says,
well, if you can't be tempted with eternal life and unlimited power, perhaps you would think of them.
And that's when the eerie silence of your own household becomes impossible to ignore.
I know how much you love your family. I know how much you would want to make sure they were safe, but you've already failed them, Ishi.
With that, the creature's hands recede into the sleeves of its ragged cloak. Soon, its hands have completely disappeared.
You want to kill me, Ishi.
And as it says your name, you hear the hunger in its voice.
You must want to send me back to Fulang's pit.
The empty sleeves of the creature are held out to you at eye level, and inside you can see something.
Or would you want to send them with me?
And from the inside, the wide sleeves of the ragged cloak of this creature, you can see the faces of Yoko and the faces of your children. From deep within this creature, you can hear Yoko crying out, and you can hear the children screaming for her and screaming for you, and you can hear the voices of your trusted household servants wailing and asking what is happening, asking where they are. And the demon, for there's no denying that this is an Oni, opens its arms wide as if to embrace you.
Give me your name, Hideyoshi. Bind me to you, and I will set their spirits free. Perhaps I'll even help you find your wife and children when they're reborn in this world after all. You'll have all the time you could ever want.
We should definitely accept this. Because, this is why these are the reasons that Ishi does things, is to protect others.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't think he could stomach himself having known that he sent his family to hell.
Okay. So
I don't think I could do it. So I would guess grimace and then, step towards the creature and do what needs to be done.
So in the Rokugani, mythology, and there's other, real cultures that have a similar thing. Demons don't have names at all. They don't have particular identity. They exist in a physical form, but they have to permanently remain in the world and be as powerful as they can be. They need they need a human's name. And so basically they need a part of your soul to bind them to the world, but it binds them to you as well.
Yeah.
And so
this sounds fine.
Yeah.
This is fine.
So you have to, in the end, name this creature, if that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Where it becomes Oni no Ishi.
You don't hear Ishi say yes, but the camera pans away from the room, and the front door closes normally, and all the things start moving back into place. It's as if the demon was never there. And it zooms away, and
awesome.
The fence is fixed and everything. It's as if he was never there.
Oh, yeah. So we see that moment where we kind of get a lot of looks, long looks at your eyes, and then we hop out of this room and go back to the children's rooms, and all of the items are back on the shelves where they're supposed to be. The blankets are laid out where they're supposed to be. We hop back into the meeting room, and the same thing, that shamisen is standing up on its little stand. And we see your servant with the mule get to the front gate and open the front gate to come in as if everything was normal. And he kind of comes into things as if it was totally a normal day and kind of opens that up. And we cut forward to the present day in Ryoko Owari. And we see that, though it's nowhere near as heavily snowing as it was in that flashback, snow and a strong wind has begun to fall on Ryoko Owari as an early winter has definitely set in.
A large city surrounded by green walls and acres of poppy fields. A group of monks traveled toward the city, exchanging prayers for whatever alms the poor peasants of the countryside can spare. In the noble quarter, we see a beautiful but imposing palace and a foreign-looking minareted estate. In the temple quarter, we see the glistening white temple of the sun goddess with a 60-foot pole topped by a shimmering golden spear, and the temple of the fortune of wealth with its towering statue of the patriot god of the city. Next door, in the merchant quarter, we see busy streets with noisy merchants selling wares from all over Rokugan and beyond. On the other side of the Bay of Drowned Honor, the fisherman's quarter, dirtier with poorer commoners, meaner gangs, and shabby dwellings amid the docks and warehouses. We pass the leather workers' quarter, the home of the Ada, the Untouchables, and the only building of notice there, the city crematorium. Finally, we arrive at Teardrop Island, the license quarter, with its perpetual twilight of hanging lanterns, fine sake and geisha houses. We follow a man in a basket hat as he's beckoned inside by a beautiful geisha. He enters and removes his hat. We see one of the monks from the beginning. Ryoko Owari, City of Lies.
Aji. Tone, what's Aji up to?
I believe I need to head to a Dragon Clan dojo for a duel.
Oh, geez. All right, kicking it off. Okay, so maybe we see Aji kind of on the way in the merchant quarter to this dojo, and of course, it's in the middle. There's a class going on, and there's some. There's a few. Oh, there are people just wrestling. That's what it is. You see a woman in her mid to late 30s. Probably later 30s, who walks with kind of like a high bearing of a warrior. She's in a kimono that's kind of a deep green color, and she has kind of in her daisho instead of the usual swords, she instead has like a bokken, and she's walking, kind of surveying some of these folks. And you can tell that some of these people who are wrestling appear to be nobles, usually younger nobles. They just kind of have that bearing. They're very clean cut. Their clothing seems a little bit nicer. But there are other folks who seem like they're perhaps of a little bit of a rougher element. So some kind of commoner.
Wasn't that like Joe Pesci got here?
Yeah, Shrimp. Who I don't think you have met Shrimp, but Shrimp is here. And she maybe gives somebody a pointer as they're wrestling. And so as you come up, she says, she says to them something like the mountain stands as tall as it can, not solely because of its height, but because of because of its sturdiness. You don't need a particular stance. That's folly. What you need is to make sure that whatever stance you adopt is sturdy. And she says, otherwise, and she takes the bokken and she just like trips the guy, and she's like, otherwise your opponent can just so easily trip you. Any match will be over before it even begins.
So that's me?
No, she's speaking to some of our students.
Right. Hail, Sensei.
And she says, are you wearing your badge and everything?
Yes.
All right. And she says, oh, hello. Do you usually wear like Kakita family stuff?
Yes.
I'll say she spots that pretty quickly. She's like, Kakita-san.
I've heard some stories that you are running a dojo here.
She says, yes. One of your colleagues had joined me some time ago. I seek to impart the wisdom of Bushido on those who would care to listen.
Do those who care to listen include Eta?
She says there are commoners who attend classes here. Yes. It's not. Does she have any students who are Eta?
The Shrimp one or no?
Shrimp is a Ronin.
Ronin.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't matter though.
Yeah. I don't know how many. I don't know. I'll say she says there are commoners here. No Eta specifically, but none of the leather workers are here. She'll use like the polite term in Ryoko Owari. But yes, there are commoners.
That's not the important matter here. The important matter that I want to know is, what is your plan with these people who are under your tutelage?
She says, the practice, martial practice can soothe the soul, provide discipline for those who otherwise might be lacking in it. It certainly made our empire great, as many great samurai have learned to calm themselves through kata and other exercises. I wish to make sure that this understanding of Bushido extends beyond those of the noble class, as that inner peace can be useful even among the commoners. It sounds like you're reading her though.
Yeah.
So that's the spiel she gives you.
Read her for now.
You got
A 5.
Got a 5? You don't have any sagacious?
Nope.
All right, you got a 5.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. She kind of looks at you and asks, "You're a man who's been trained as a duelist. I could see that perhaps you've let that atrophy somewhat, but you've certainly been well trained and by a far more prestigious school than this dojo. Why are you actually here?"
Well, I'm here to investigate some rumors of you arming citizens. Some might say you're raising an army.
And she says, "You know that that's not the case. Who asked you to come here?"
Who do you think?
I know you are, but what am I?
Let's take a picture. It lasts longer. there's been no effort to cause civil unrest here. In fact, the exact opposite. What I teach these people is inner peace.
Well, I'm here to keep the peace. And I'm just here to make sure that peace is kept.
Well, then it would appear we would be on the same side in that capacity.
Are we? So, why train these people? What is your benefit?
And she says the meditation, the inner peace, all of that's achieved through the study of the martial arts helps me to maintain my own focus as a warrior. She says, if similar techniques can help these people maintain their focus on their inner selves, it's all the better.
Let's see. Well, how about we test those skills? Are you up for a challenge?
And she said, is that what you really came here for?
Essentially, yes. Do you question my motives?
She says, if you wish to spar with me, that's one thing. But I will tell you this: my family is small. The Dragonlands are not easily accessed, even when the weather is good. And she says, anything beyond that will have to wait quite some time.
How about I make a proposition? If you beat me in a duel, I will answer your questions honestly.
This boy.
Oh, I think she just says, you've already answered my question. Already answered my questions through your actions.
I see.
But I was lying.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
See, that was the truth part. That's why I said that. Why would I say that if I wasn't lying?
Yeah.
Come on.
so you already know why I'm here. Are you ready?
She says, yeah. She basically says like,
All soon to
like I'm not gonna fight you. That's not the purpose of this. That's no, how would she say it? She said
fortune cookie.
Yeah. Oh. She'll just say like, if you're looking for an excuse to attack me, I'm not going to if you're looking for an excuse to attack me, I'm not going to be the armorer. I'm not going to be your armor. No, if you're looking for an excuse to attack me, I'm not going to be the one who sharpens your blade.
There you go.
You got there.
You did it.
3 takes.
It was good, though.
Well,
It was worth all 3.
I cannot attack an unarmed opponent. Then answer this question. Who have you been, who have you been making angry within the city? I'm getting reports, and that's why I'm here.
And she says, whoever sent you here to fight me is clearly who I've been making angry.
What do you know?
You already know the answers to these questions.
But I don't know what you know. So why don't you care to enlighten me?
Ooh. Are you trying to get her to tell you this information?
Yes.
Or are you trying to goad her into a fight?
Well, she's not gonna... I think as a parent, she doesn't want to fight, so I'm gonna...
You could try to, antagonize her in some way or another.
I just want the information at the moment, because I don't think she's gonna fight.
I believe it.
Unless you roll well.
Yeah, you could roll soup.
What?
Don't start a
Manipulate?
fight you can't win.
Mm-hmm. You can try to...
I'm not fighting.
Yeah, you took my advice. I just gave it afterward.
Yeah, I guess you could try to provoke her into a fight.
Well, I'm not really trying to provoke her in a fight.
Okay.
I already said I wouldn't attack an unarmed opponent, but I say pretty much, well, are you the enemy of my enemy? If you are, then we can be allies.
And she'll say, I'm not your enemy.
I said, okay, cool.
Then I think we can reach an agreement. Tell me what you know, and let's see if we can come up with a plan.
I think there's a short guy. He's maybe in our world he'd be like 5'3" or so.
Kind of shrimpy.
A little bit stocky, shrimp stock. A little bit stocky, and The other students have kind of stopped what they were doing. This guy tried to continue for a little while, but at this point he's kind of come up and is like staring at you pretty hard as this is going on. And the other students have kind of backed up. Not backed up. They haven't come any closer. They may have stopped this fight, but this conversation has gotten like somewhat awkward enough to kind of stop the regular flow of what was going on in this dojo. And this guy has come up by far the closest to the two of you. And Kitsuki Jotomen says, I've been asked to investigate something, and you and your colleagues can find out this information as soon as I'm ready to present it to you.
All right. What information is that? What information are you talking about?
And she'll kind of ask you, do you have any other business here?
My main business is just trying to keep the peace.
As an Emerald Magistrate, I think, what will she say? She'll say like I appreciate a magistrate so devoted to his duties. I appreciate a magistrate so devoted to his duties.
Well, you could find me usually at the, what's it called? City Hall?
The Civil Hall.
Civil Hall. You know where to find me.
You know that place where I work?
She says, it was a pleasure to meet you, Aji-san.
You too. I hope sometime we take up my offer on that duel, and I'll show you whether or not my skills have a trophy. I leave.
All right. So you kind of like walk off.
Into the sunset?
Are you brooding when you walk off?
Well, I do walk off, knowing that I didn't really follow Asako's instructions.
What is Taiyo up to on this day where we see snow, and early snow has fallen over Rokugan. Wherever you are, either you're looking out a window or maybe you are outside, but we can see that winter has come to Ryoko Owari early this year, and already it's not a blizzard, but already it's snowing quite a bit more than you would have expected. You still thought you had several more weeks before the snows really kicked in. And winter kind of became a season fully in effect. And you know that in Rokugan, in wintertime, most travel stops. It becomes very difficult for people to get from point A to point B. And, in a lot of places, especially big cities, they'll often have winter courts where people essentially hunker down there for a couple of months, or at least through like the worst of the winter.
So what happened after last time we left off? Because it was like a cliffhanger of the kids' ritual, and they're like, there was a lady, and now this tree's dead.
Yeah, they brought up that there had been this woman nearby, and now this tree is, I won't say that it's dead totally, but it had been in bloom for a while, even though that should be a tree that only blooms in the spring.
Oh, so it just stopped being magical?
I'd say it withers, almost like all the leaves fall off of it. So there had been all these beautiful red blossoms on it, and it had kind of it had been going just as if it was spring, and now all the leaves have fallen off of the thing, all the petals have fallen off.
And that was
the sky is gray.
That's because the tree.
It wasn't like a special that who gave us the magistrates?
Matsu Shigeko, the person who
was a retired person.
Yeah, she retired.
It's still somewhere around.
And then Narutoki.
She showed up twice, I think, right?
No, we haven't met Matsu Shigeko.
I thought one of them showed up. One of the retired ones. Somebody who left earlier.
There was another former, a retired magistrate, Kitsu Senshi, who did show up and just kind of criticized Yugure a bunch.
Yeah,
but no one's contacted her again.
I think it's most NPCs in this game. They just kind of come up to us and come on, really?
A little bit.
just a tiny bit.
But that ritual seemed to go off, right? That was some time ago.
I assume that was last night, and this is the next day. If you need us to hop right back to that night, we can.
Another flashback.
I know.
Several hours ago.
24.
Well, I think So what Sugenjas are?
You
You
know.
know, there's Grandpa Phoenix.
Mhm.
There's Yigure. There's the scary lady who disappeared, possibly. Are there more?
Yep. The Ide, Baronato, Sanafusa.
Okay.
I think those two,
One of those.
both. Baronato's definitely a Shugenja.
And Kitsu Senshi.
Oh, he's
She's from at least a Shugenja family.
I think Baronato's the strongest unicorn Shugenja in the city.
Who was that person you said?
Kitsu Senshi. She's the former magistrate that I said we only saw her show up and criticize Yugure and then leave.
Kitsu Senji?
Senshi, yeah. Very old. She is very old.
And
What's her?
Oh, yeah. And then, what's Grandpa Phoenix's name?
Asako Kinto.
Yeah, that's it, right? Those three, theoretically. And you're right. Ida Baronato, Kitsu, Senshi, Sako Kinto.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, because I guess, well, I'm starting this party thing too. I'm gonna invite people. But maybe this would just be easier to. Well, no, I haven't met any of those three.
Yeah, on screen we haven't seen you deal with any of those people.
All right. So in preparation for this party, since I want to invite all of them, I'm going to try to meet them.
All right. That sounds like almost a negotiated court role.
Hey, I'm good at
That's a
that.
role I've never even heard of.
Mm-hmm. We haven't made it too often. Go ahead and do that.
Oh, should I do my magistrate role thing?
Sure.
Cool.
All right. So for your beginning of session move called
Magistrate something. Reward of loyalty.
the reward of loyalty.
I did write that down.
Go ahead and make a roll.
It's a sagacious. Plus.
Not bad. So that's 11. All right.
Which is gain 1 wealth and a favor.
Okay.
And then the other thing is negotiate a court, which is an elegant. 10.
All right.
In that case, I choose 3 of these 4 things.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Austin.
No, it's fine. It's just like more or less
This. Let me do this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need an enemy to lose 1 face, so I will take the other 3, which is gain 1 favor in court, prominent person agrees to take your side, and I don't have to make a promise or concession to another courtier.
Okay. I think you can essentially set up this party and get these people to at least say that they'll come out to this.
Am I invited?
When are you planning this party?
Yeah, you're coming? It's gonna come, right? Is that your plan?
I mean, really soon. Theoretically, next time I get an ability to or a time to make a move, I'm going to do that party move that I got.
Okay. Ooh, I think this is a good time for this.
Sure.
So we see a shot of you at the house, and you're maybe looking out a window or looking into the garden of your own house, and you're kind of remembering back to that tree with all the leaves falling off of it, and now you're looking at the just the garden in your house, in your personal residence, not the magistrate residence.
Right.
But your personal residence, and you see the kind of heavy snowfall. And you go out onto the street and you see that it's like we see just shots of the city as snow is falling all over the place.
Yeah.
And people who maybe are walking about and weren't exactly prepared for it being as cold or as windy as it was, and are maybe kind of hustling to get home. We come back in, and you sit back down at almost like writing out invitations basically to this party. And so you're doing this, and your wife comes back into the room. Her name again is
Hikari.
Hikari comes back into the room, and she has a tray, and on it she puts down 2 glasses, or from it she takes 2 glasses and puts them kind of in front of you, and pours tea into one, and then she pours sake into another, which is not the most usual thing. And then she kind of sits down across from you. And you're maybe sitting at like a low table that can operate as both a table and a desk.
Yeah, which one did she take?
She doesn't take either. She kind of they seem to be for you, and she puts these 2 different beverages in front of you.
Mix them.
You should. Do you want to have a good time? Yes.
I might say. I'll say. Should I start with the tea or the sake?
She says, you'll have to choose one of them.
Thanks.
I
You're helpful.
will pick the tea.
Excellent. And she takes the sake and she like just puts it off to the side and sits down and says, who are we inviting to this?
I've started to make sort of a list, just people I've met through the job, and some more. I was going to give it to you, and if you've met anyone that you think should be there too.
And she looks over at your list and she sees some of the different people, especially like all the scorpion that are involved.
I think I changed it to only the Bayushis after
Okay.
last game.
Okay. And she'll say, are your fellow magistrates to come as well?
That was the... Yeah. Would that be a problem?
And she'll say, no, of course not. It all simply depends on what you want from this party.
Hoping to use it to make my actual intention is to make sure that I can trust everyone that's coming here, especially as the winter, I would say, draws near, but it's all upon us.
She'll say, does she call you Tayo or does she call you Suki when you are in private?
That's a good question. Maybe at this point she does just sit, but maybe since we moved to the city, she just calls me Tayo.
Mm-hmm.
In case.
She'll say like Tayo-chan, kind of use like the real formal like darling kind of a thing. And she'll say, when I was engaged to be married, I knew I would be moving away from my family and living with my husband, living with his family on his lands, and that I would take the Bayushi name, she said, but it doesn't change who I am. At some point, I had to choose, and she like looks at the sake and looks at the tea, and she'll say, at some point, I had to choose where my heart and my full loyalty was going to lie. Was I going to be someone who was merely married and stayed, who was merely married as part of an arrangement for their family back home to make some form of deal, or was I going to embrace the family that I had, the family that I chose? And she says, and that was a decision I had to make when I was, how old would you say she is now?
I think I made a point that we were like real young, so maybe it was like 20, and now we're 23.
Okay, so she says that's I had to make that decision when I was 19 or 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. And I hope you don't regret it.
And she says, I don't regret it at all. Do you think you could make that decision? Ooh, it sounds like you're reading her.
There we go. 10.
10.
What does your character wish I do? There we go.
And she'll kind of like open up to you. She'll look over that list again, kind of slide it back to you, and say, when I was married, I was still a crane, but I had a scorpion family. I had to choose one of those two things, and I chose the loyalty to my family. In this city, you need to choose where your loyalties are. So things seem to be getting rough, and you're going to have to decide in the end who you are. She's basically saying you're going to have to go all in with one side at some point, and you're going to need to pick a side.
She's saying her, or she's...
Oh no, she means like in city politics.
Gotcha.
And she'll say...
So like the magistrates versus the drug dealers?
Basically, yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which one was the sake and which one was the tea?
Yeah.
What the sake mean? Shit.
Oh, also I have this opium.
Does she want you want
The
some?
fact that you didn't know that I had this means you're bad at your job.
Also, here's a demon.
No.
We call it the fish demon. I ate fish earlier.
That
It
makes
was
sense.
adjacent to a fish one.
Mm-hmm. My name's Jason Fish.
Turning it low.
Mm-hmm.
I think, here we go. I'll make this an HBO show. Take that list that was on the table or something and just like throw it on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a short thing.
Yeah.
Japan.
And it's paper, so it glides gently.
Yeah, but I just like get rid of it and I'm just like, well, I don't regret the decision that we made either. My real only loyalty is to you and the kids. One of these routes is much more honorable and safe. And one of these, just looking at this bigger house we have, is much more comfortable. But I'm the only decisions I'll make are what you think will be best for us and our family. That's the only thing that I really care about, and that's the only reason I make any decision that I do. Oh yeah, what's your character really feeling?
Ooh, I think she's looking at the situation going on like in the city, and you've said that you kind of tell her a good amount of stuff. Mm-hmm. She's also been privy to some of like the dinner parties that you've had, and heard like some of the conversations you've had with other people. Mm-hmm. And how she's really feeling right now is that she's. I almost feel like I'm answering the same question again, but she feels like you're possibly half-assing it. Mm-hmm. Essentially, like you're going to have to pick one of these sides, and she's doubting your ability to play to keep a foot in each camp. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of saying you're going to have to. Yeah, she doesn't feel that that's the safe route to go. So she's worried about that, mm-hmm. and wants you to get on board with one. Basically, decide which lord you're going to serve. Mm-hmm.
The Emperor.
That's not how I'd put it.
Well, I mean, you could argue that it's the Empire or your clan,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
or even like the Empire or your family specifically. Not like you're just your nuclear family, but your larger family.
Mm-hmm. I guess this the city is just, especially what happened recently. It's just more dangerous than I really thought. Even more dangerous than the Viper's Den that we left in Baishi. What is that?
Kayuden Bayushi?
There we go. This job just wasn't even given to me particularly. It's I just constantly have doubts that I'm even the one that I can handle this. I wish you could have gone before the snow started, but I don't know if we should even stay here after the thaw. But we have to settle down for the winter at least. It's going to get darker as the days go on. I think that was a lot of poetry to say, like, maybe we should just quit and go somewhere else after this. Let's go to the country.
Yeah. Ooh. She'll say, like, this position is a very dangerous one, not only because of what happened to your predecessor, but because of who we are and the people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. If we're people with secrets, and we're among a people who trade in secrets. Mm-hmm. So she basically just says, if you want to get some other position, I'm sure you can speak with someone, some of the other Emerald Magistrates, she says, but just be careful. Be careful with how you treat the people of this city, because as I've learned so well from my family, there can be as I've learned so well from my adoptive family, it can be very dangerous to cross a scorpion.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I might just. What does your character intend to do? Just to finish off my question.
She's down to have this party. She's down to have this party. I think she is looking at this like long list of people and just wondering what the purpose of inviting all of these folks is, in case, like, given that you're concerned about like security and that kind of thing. Like, inviting all of these extra people into your home seems odd.
Makes sense.
And so her plan is basically to like look through this and kind of weed some of these people out of here.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah, is that the scene then?
I think so. Yeah, I think maybe she goes and looks out the same window that you had been looking out, mm-hmm. and we just see like kind of like more of we see like the Ryoko Owari countryside, like getting snowed upon as well. Where do we join Yugure?
Well, if it's the next day, maybe he's just like recovering
mm-hmm.
from the fire and the Tayo's kids ritual.
Okay.
And he probably has some explaining to do to Misaki
mm-hmm.
on account of her favorite tree where she liked to garden is now all withered up.
Oh yeah, there's a servant who's sweeping up some of like the leaves, and she says, well, it was. Misaki looks at the tree and says something like, well, it was only a matter of time. I mean, tree staying in bloom that late into the winter. You couldn't expect it to. You couldn't expect that. And she says the sun eventually sets, even on the longest day of the year. And, the servant. There's just a servant, one of the maids, just cleaning up all the petals, and leaves, and such. That suddenly just all fell off of this tree last night.
That the servant had said that?
No, it's Mizaki.
Okay.
Your wife.
Yeah, so I'll say, it is indeed surprising how late that it stayed in bloom, though I worry that it wasn't just the onset of winter that brought the bloom to an end. And I don't think it was like a secret or hidden from her specifically that I was like helping Tayo's kids last night, like doing that ritual thing. But I just want to like tell her like my concerns that, that this tree thing seemed like a side effect of that, and that I'm worried about her and the kids and the looming darkness of the city.
Okay.
Because I know it's a touchy subject. Like she kind of showed up without warning and like thinks that I'm up to something fishy and having an affair. So I feel like I need to tread carefully in talking about maybe not wanting them here, but also, trying to make sure she understands how scared Yugure is.
Mm-hmm.
Has she been any better about like seeming suspicious of me?
Seems like you're reading her.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, rather than have you make that roll, I'm just gonna tell you that nothing has changed in her demeanor.
Okay.
Rather than have you make a roll and get the exact same information.
Right. I guess maybe I just want to take the day to just like hang out with them and like tell the other magistrates that I'm recovering, which is true, and just like have a family day.
Right.
I guess maybe I'm gonna try to. I don't know if there's a move to like be friendly or just if that's a seduce or manipulate or something.
That might be a manipulate roll.
All right. I got an 8.
An 8. All right. So you want your wife to. I think this is what you want. You want your wife to trust you more.
Yeah.
And to feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
And what you are offering her in exchange is essentially like your undivided time.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think that you're gonna have to provide her some kind of concrete assurance of that. Well, for sure you are, as that you've got a 7 to 9 result. Is there something you do that you would feel could get to that point?
Will she want more undivided time? Like, I was thinking like today.
Mm-hmm.
Could schedule like family time, like a family day every week or something. I don't know if that's a concrete assurance.
Oh, I think you're maybe supposed to. I think maybe you've got either like often you've had office hours or often you go and meditate and kind of do stuff off on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ditch that, she'll consider that kind of that exclusive time that you two have together.
I can't ditch my office hours, but yeah, I can reschedule or like cut back the solitary meditation time.
Yeah, so I think she'll be okay with this, and she'll spend a little bit more time with you as you kind of hang out today. And one of the things that you find is after kind of the maid is done cleaning up those flower petals, Mizaki does like a small amount of gardening herself, and we eventually see her writing out some like papers. And
is that normal?
Well, that's not particularly unusual. But at some point, like a servant that you haven't seen comes to the house, and she gives this person these papers and kind of sends them off.
All right. Well, I'll ask Misaki about it.
She says, "Oh, that's our merchant."
Oh, do we have a merchant?
And she says, when we came down, I knew we'd have to find one, and I was given a list of some possible people to contact, and this should work out. I don't know with this early winter, but that's their issue to deal with.
What are we buying?
And she says, no, selling. Not buying at all.
What are we selling?
She says that, well, the merchant will sell the ore the jade.
I didn't realize you had taken an interest in the family estate, and I thought that, I don't know if we had a name for her. We must have, right? My brother's wife?
Her new name is her married name is Agasha Funtaishi.
I didn't realize you had taken any responsibility. I thought that Funtaishi was handling all of that.
And she says, "Oh, right, we'll handle all of that, all of those things. But you know how it is in this city. You've been here longer than I have. This is what's done here, right?"
What is it that's being done?
And she says, "People have merchants, and those merchants do business, buying things and selling things, and I thought that's how things were done here."
All right, maybe now I need to read her.
Go for it.
Now I feel
We're
like
going to do a new reading time.
Mm-hmm.
So that is 12.
12,
Oh.
pretty good.
You wanted that one.
Yeah. Damn it.
shit.
Um,
Listen out.
I don't know. Well, none of these questions is what I want to ask, which is, do you know what's going on? Do you know what you're doing? And I guess I get a bunch of questions. So is she telling the truth?
Do you want to ask that related to like a specific thing?
Yeah, I guess in terms of is she telling her truth about her role or in this?
You haven't really.
Well,
Why
she
don't you
didn't-
ask her a question and then see if she's telling the truth after that? So that way,
Well, I asked her what her role was, and she's like, "Oh, this is how things are done."
right? Okay. she is under the impression that yes, in
Right.
Ryoko Owari, it is a common thing for nobles to have merchants, and she almost says like, "Isn't that what everybody does here?"
Right.
She's being a bit like almost somewhat passive aggressive about it. Like, "Oh, isn't that what everybody does? I guess we're going out to eat. Isn't that what everyone does when they're in this city?" Like that kind of thing.
Damn.
Oh, like maybe this is a thing she didn't want to deal with, but she does since she's here? Or like this isn't the life she wanted? Or
Do you want to ask her any of those things?
I don't know. Alright, I'll ask her. I forgot that name again already. But,
You just say your sister-in-law,
my sister-in-law,
Agasha Funtaishi.
how much of this did you learn from her?
And she says, most of this. It would only make sense. She's from the Scorpion.
That's true, and she's been
This is
handling...
a Scorpion city.
I'm gonna, as much as I can, use my tone of voice to be non-threatening.
Mhm.
Just calm down. Okay, we're not fighting right now. I'm just asking you some questions. Do you what do you have to sign? What do you have to fill out?
She says, "I was using that as a prop piece. There's not a ton of paperwork per se that they have to do this stuff with, but she probably has some kind of requests on behalf of these merchants to get travel papers here or there, like that kind of stuff. So you probably know that it would be much easier and we talked about this before, for merchants to move back and forth, especially to Dragonlands, which is kind of a pain in the butt to get to.
Mm-hmm.
If they could use the Emperor's roads, they could move much more quickly.
I'll ask her. Is that what she's? Is she somehow granting that permission?
So she doesn't have the authority to do that.
Right. That's what's throwing me off. So she's.
So no. So they're requests for travel papers.
That she's writing. She's making the request.
Again, I was using that more as a set piece to get us to this conversation.
Okay.
Don't worry about the paperwork.
Okay, but she's doing some.
She has a merchant.
Yeah.
So in the same way that Yasuki Nobuko had the merchant Whisper, that's her merchant that works for her.
Mm-hmm.
And does the business parts of things, even though she's way more involved in it than most people would say.
Mm-hmm.
This lady, your wife, Mizaki, essentially has engaged this merchant right as a vassal to take care of this stuff, moving this cargo back and forth.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is I'm now come to the assumption that my sister-in-law has manipulated Misaki into coming to the city in order to benefit her own financial transactions that she's using from our land. But I don't know how much Misaki knows about this or how I could get her to tell me.
Well, one of these questions is, how can I get you to tell me?
How could I get your character to... But I don't know if she even realizes that wouldn't be what happened. It's how could I get your character to confirm or deny my suspicion, even though you may not even know for yourself? That's my question.
Okay. Yeah. So, the how you can do this is you are onto something where you're like, I'm going to try to make sure that I say this in a non-threatening way, but in a way that doesn't kind of get this into an argument. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's kind of the smart move, is to kind of to go at this head on. Mm-hmm. Is just going to meet further resistance. Because it's like, well, you don't really trust me, but now I'm going to ask you, who's telling you these things? Like, that's always looks bad.
Right.
I think if you show her that you'd be willing to take part in some of this stuff, she would feel much more comfortable, like, discussing it with you openly and honestly. Let me rephrase that. Would feel much more comfortable talking with you in a much more kind of calm, normal way, rather than it getting defensive about it or it becoming some kind of argument.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely. So I'll offer her that, I have been in the city a little longer, as you said. This is new to me, like the world of merchanting, but I'd love to, this could be another thing we do together.
And she says, well, that's good, so long as the travel papers, they can get those travel papers, it'll be really easy for them to bring Jade down south, essentially, and then take those same carts and that same stuff and transport whatever goods from Crablands up to here, from here to... Basically, she'll tell you that the job that Wright has is getting the Jade loaded up onto carts and down to Crablands. Wright's only real job is to make sure, like, security is hired for that. But once that's all dropped off, his job then becomes, well, you've got all these carts and all these horses and that kind of stuff. Get other stuff to sell in other places. So stuff that you could buy in Crablands to then sell and try to make a profit off of it for the trip back. You got it. So she says, should be something that we can essentially help out our family while also, like, kind of living more comfortably here.
Yeah, so I am totally down to help Misaki with that. Maybe short of actually, like, doing those travel papers quite yet. Is she, like, excited? Like, is she pushing for that?
Not at the moment.
All right, then I'm not gonna make a point of it then.
She's brought it up, but you already know the whole situation with that anyway.
Yeah, and so I guess other than that, I'm gonna help out. Like, yeah, okay, let's we'll do it together. We'll help out our personal family situation financially and everything. But my last question, which is not a thing I will immediately. Basically, my question is, how can I get her to see that my sister-in-law is trying to manipulate both of us? And I'm not going to, like, push that immediately, but I just want to, like, feel it out and see if I can get a sense of, like, how much she trusts her, how much she relies on her. So, and if there would be a way that I could eventually...
She'd have to see that there's something negative there, because so far her sister-in-law has encouraged her to go and be with her family and do stuff that will help her family. And so she doesn't see anything as anything negative having come out of any of this.
All right.
And you feel that the two of them have gotten to know one another well in your absence.
Yeah. Well, Yugure thinks that his sister-in-law made Misaki believe that Yugure is cheating on her, and that's how his sister-in-law got Misaki to come to the city in order to help out with the stuff as, like, her pawn. So part of what I'm asking, like, how can I get Misaki to see that she was manipulated, is not just about, like, the trading and stuff, but specifically about making her think that Yugure was cheating on her.
Okay.
I don't know if I can get a sense of any of the veracity of that, but just so you know, that's something on the mind.
It's good. The internal monologue there.
All right, well, I think other than that, we just maybe help her garden and hang out.
Works.
Do something with the kid. Go to, like, a safe part of the city to show them around a little bit.
Well, there's There's a huge garden in the Noble Quarter, the Shosuro Gardens.
Is that where all the firemen hang out?
No.
That's a different garden?
So that's this big garden in like the Noble Quarter.
The merchant named Wright leaves the magistrate's residence, tucking the papers Agasha Mizaki gave him into his simple green kimono. Heading north into the merchant's quarter, he makes his way to an elaborately decorated sake house in the downhill neighborhood. Wright is guided back to a private booth, where he joins a portly man who smiles and greets him. "Welcome," the man says with a smile. "Please, sit." As Wright seats himself across from the smiling man, he pours a cup of sake for his new guest. Though only a merchant, the man's clothing is far nicer than most samurais, and with just a whiff of the sake, Wright can tell that it too is very expensive. "It's all worked out," Wright says. "We'll have our cover of heading down to Crablands and later back up to Dragonlands. What I don't understand is, why bother selling up there? Wouldn't the demand be way higher in Crablands?" The merchant seems to think nothing of the question, and is not bothered by what others might consider impertinence from a subordinate. He makes far too much money to be worried about being offended. Let the poor fuss over issues of honor. When he finishes savoring his drink, he puts down the cup. It's a feint. The most obvious thing to do would be to bring the product down south, but the Bayushis would be able to figure that out very easily. The crab are their biggest customers. The Dragon Clan has always been such a poor market because of how difficult it is to get the product there. If we already have the cover of legitimate business, it won't be so costly. The Agasha are already going to be making plenty of money selling their jade, so they won't even notice what we're doing. But Subtle, isn't it dangerous to have the magistrate this involved? "Oh, his name is what makes this easier," Subtle says, smoothing out the sleeve of his elegant kimono. "When people do business with you, they will assume that they are doing business with him, and that everything is on the up and up. Plus, if he ever gets wise, well, his wife's name is all over everything."
City of Lies is Tone as Kakita Aji, Brandon as Hida Ishii, David as Bayushi Tayo, Andrew as Agasha Yugure, and Austin as your Game Master. The theme music for City of Lies is Mission of Danger by Lobo Loco. Music for this episode includes 'Tend to It by Osiris Saline and 11 by Cowpay. Our intro was done by Scott.